Alright, let's try this again. And hopefully, OBS doesn't spaz out halfway through. This is actually pretty fresh off the ladder. Slow versus ThomasHiatt. Slow was customary Cybrin in the red corner, and Thomas now pretty much customary UEF in the blue corner. Map is Twin Rivers. Oh boy. One of those classic 1v1 maps. You have your expansion at the back, expansion at the side, expansion to both sides of the islands, which you either drop or you distance build a factory to. Reclaim around each of these white mesas, and then a significant amount of reclaim in the mid, which should not be, well, what's the word for it? Neglected. Most common builds are second land, third air, just in order to defend and cover as much ground as possible. And you'll see quite a lot of build orders are available on this map actually. The most common ones involve what this is doing, like you send an engineer to the back, you grab the two rocks, or if you grab the mexes get the rocks, or some variation thereof. You'll see a lot of people try and get the side reclaim and mexes before sending someone off to build a factory on the flank like that. And you can also see very aggressive lab plays in order to either disrupt people getting the middle mass early, that's part of the build order, or just in general, just being a general nuisance. So Zoe is going, they're both going pretty aggressive actually. 3 labs from Hyatt, they're running through the mid, trying to stop anyone from reclaiming the mass. Slow, just going for labs as well. And he's going to go find the engineer that's going to distance build up here. This one's just going to run through a long way around and try and get to the back. This mantis is just ploughing through the middle. You can see this is designed to try and find any reclaiming engineers. Instead finds a mech marine, kills it, and will just continue as merry may. But Thomas, because he has a mole, can see that there's just probably an engineer, and so he'll probably divert a mech marine to go here and kill it, whilst the other one tries and poke a hole somewhere else. Yep, second land, third air. You can see his low isn't that fast on his expansion compared to Thomas, so he hasn't grabbed the back, not got the reclaim, no one grabbing front mexes. His key engineer at the back is alive though, so that's one thing. He doesn't actually seem to need to expand because he's sort of relying on the mass in the middle to fuel it, and he can just assist his commander in building a nice base. This mech marine found the engineer, probably going to die, and then the problem when you're facing against this is, well, there's shit all over your base. You have to put out all the fires at once. It's APM intensive, and your tanks are, well, they're going to beat the lab. They just have to somehow get there first, which means they're not now going on the other direction. Thomas, meanwhile, has too much mass, not enough power. Forced to build a radar in his own base to see where the raids are coming in, but only half effective because there's not enough energy to run it. And he was paying attention to reclaim this, but I guess his attention is elsewhere, so this will probably go down? Yeah, it's going to go down. So, stop building the factory at the back. He got the 4 mexes though, so it's not all bad. It's like there's just shit all over his base. There's a lab here, there's a lab there. This just seems to be classic slow style where you just put out as many fires as you can. You can see how aggressive Slow is right now. Just did a pretty textbook way of playing Cybern, I suppose, even though it's hard to emulate. Is be aggressive, your units are hot on your opponent's side of the map, and by virtue of attacking, you're defending yourself, as there's nothing threatening your expansions. It's only now that he's gone for the side mexes. Don't know when he's going to try and go over the side islands. And these moles are in a position to show there's nothing coming his way. Slow is completely and utterly... Oh, he's going to get that. Oh, there's a generator in the way to stop the bullets. That's fine. Now there's just Mantis here, there, everywhere, and he has to send tanks to chase. He does have a Tech 2 Max now, although I don't think it's the right one. And Thomas is now trying to get his land factories up. 5 in an air factory. Slow also 5 in an air factory, but you can build more. You can kind of see how Thomas has been able to expand, get the mexes, and Slow is still yet to get his. Instead, his units are more in aggressive positions across the map, just causing to be a general nuisance. And he's adding even more factories to it. Doesn't need the power, doesn't build it, so he's perfectly balanced. Thomas seems to have slightly overcompensated on his power, so he's probably busy trying to put out fires. His engineer at the back dies again. No, still no factory, he only just got the hydro. Point that there's now engineers building factories back here to shorten the build time to that, and they can just spam over to the flank if they need to. No one's moved over to take the forward nexus, which is interesting. And Slow looking to be aggressive with his air as well. Almost adding even more spam factories, and they're going to go forwards. And we see what the plan is. So he's playing defensive, trying to sort out all of these Mantis infestations, and just like they just breezed past his tanks. So he's going to divert even more tanks over to the side now. This is just going to end up dying. Lost air control, so maybe we'll see Slow build a transport. Slow is ecoing and building more factories at the same time. Where is he getting all this mass from? Holy hell. And Thomas is actually 800 ahead, and yet seems to be much reduced on the tank count. 42 tanks, 44 tanks, and you can see all the attempts at Thomas to try and do some raiding back. Mantis are faster, so they can get in position faster and chase down raids. Whereas the opposite is true for UEF. You see Mantis breeze past you and you can't really catch them in a straight line. You have to go back. And there's 2 Mantis here, and what's he sending backwards? 7 tanks to try and deal with it. Oh boy, the pressure. Random Mantis blowing up mexes, random Mantis at the back blowing up engineers.
Commander under attack.
And that's all tanks which you're just not sending forwards. And if it ever dips out of radar range, then you assume that your tanks have killed it, when sometimes they're just sitting at the back and no one's dealt with it. But Thomas finally has radars on both sides, so we can probably see when shit's coming in. Lost both flanks. Needs to rebuild those, and Slow meanwhile has pushed forward, grabbed his side of the map, and he's just ecoing and going for more factories and more spam and more eco at the back, but still no attempt to take the side islands. Mantis infestations running around and being annoying, blowing up engineers, and there's how many tanks is this? At least double the amount of tanks. You send a good 10-13 tanks to deal with 5 Mantis. And eventually he does this and decides he needs to push. But honestly he has to decide how far is he going to go. Because on the one hand he's pushing forward, but there's no ACU supporting it. So Slow is just getting free veterancy with his ACU. And then it's dumping mass on Slow's doorstep. Yep, he's got a power failure because he's going to Tech 2 and transports away. Even though Slow has superior air, he's no longer guarding any of these flanks or plateaus. Thomas moving forward, not sure that's the greatest idea, since you can probably guess that Slow has much more than he does. And how the fuck are there units in the back again? The bomber can deal with it, or can just reclaim it, or the engineers can just die horrible deaths. And now Slow is in command all this reclaim. He doesn't need Tech 2. But I'm surprised, really. Or is it just typical Slow style? Wow, that mass bar. Oof. He hasn't really got the power to upgrade any more mexes, does he? He's trying to, but he needs to spend his mass, but he's not going for Tech 2 either. He's just happy to spam more Tech 1. More Mantis, more Medusa. And Thomas has made the jump to Tech 2. Needs more support factories, but the question becomes is just, eventually, if you have enough Medusas and Mantis, you can just body block. And there's just too much crap for pillars to cut through. Unlike, say, Oshalas, who have the range. Pillars have to get down and dirty. So depends. Slow seems to have yielded both islands, yet has magically found the economy to eco his core base harder. And this is just, what's this doing here? So this force is just getting eaten for breakfast. There's nothing defending this large force from just ploughing forwards. And their pillars in the field, they're very effective, very cost efficient. But can he get critical mass of pillars at the point that Tech 1 doesn't matter anymore? ACU's kind of sitting in no man's land, no upgrades, no power, needs Tech 2 power before he gets an upgrade or two. But he has the side islands, so at this point, you might need to consider just defending. Because where is this going? You just need to defend. Trust the fact that you're both side islands, eco harder than your opponent, just dig in. If you're the UEF, you have time on your side, since your units just get better as time goes on. And since you're, well, unless you let your opponent completely out eco you, which shouldn't happen, you have to decide what are you pushing for. Support factories? None yet. Still trying to build a Tech 2 P-Gen. And, well, the problem is, if I remember the last time this matchup happened, Zlo went for Corsairs to the point that Hiatt couldn't push at all with his Tech 2 army. So I'm wondering if that's playing on his mind, because right now, how many tanks has Zlo got? 125 versus 71, nearly double. And if Zlo can probably see that there's nothing here that can stop it. Thomas is pushing forward rather bravely, and I have the question, my only question is why? What is worth fighting for at this point, besides the fact that he has this, which means that he can reclaim anything that dies, but this is a very large amount of units that can reposition very quickly. And Thomas is just flat out of units. These are going to support factories, these are going to pillars, but he needs to run. Because he doesn't have enough to deal with this amount of crap that's going to bear down on him. Especially since he has the flanks as well, he has no reason to be here. Now, this is the problem as well, that he was fighting so far forwards. The reclaim field goes to Zlo. And it just becomes, why were they fighting over here? And then reclaim fields themselves become a prize to fight over, but he finally had the power, tries to get a Tech 2 upgrade in order to get Tech 2 PD up, which would stop this Tech 1 nonsense. And is that yet another run by? That's yet another run by, oh boy. And Zlo can see this upgrade happening. And I think he's just going to give a general move and attack command, and there's probably enough Medusa here to just rain on ThomasHiatt. Yep, the Medusa got an order to attack, the Mantis is just going to run forwards, and there just isn't enough units for Thomas to repel this. And I think he might be dead. Blows here, Thomas realizes he can't stay here, tries to run, but yeah, when you're outnumbered 10 to 1, Tech 2 doesn't do very much. And I think he's dead. Teching be damned, all you need is Mantis. Not a single attempt to get to Tech 2 from Zlo, not even Corsairs. It's just saying, yep, Tech 1's good enough. I will just beat you with Tech 1. I don't even need the side islands, I don't need air, I just need Tech 1. And that is why you do not copy Zlo, because no one can fucking do it. Oh well, until next time.